Well, what's up guys, JP back at you once again, bringing you guys day number 26 in my 8th annual 31 Days of Horror. Today I decided to go back to 1974 with From Beyond the Grave. Now I got this here in the Warner Archive Collection Blu-ray line that they've been doing. I'm a huge fan of this line. Pretty much own most of the horror stuff that they've released. I think that it's really cool to see some of these films get a Blu-ray, especially stuff like Bad Ronald, which I reviewed before. From Beyond the Grave is a film that I have seen before. It's an anthology film. It's an Amicus anthology film, and I believe it was one of the last ones that they actually did. And it has 4 stories and a wraparound segment. So the wraparound segment follows a shopkeeper, sort of this antique shop. And the shop owner is played by Peter Cushing, and people come in who are going to be the primary leads in the stories and buy something from the shop or steal something from the shop, and then we follow them. It's a pretty cool setup, honestly. It's a little predictable where it's heading. It's really not supposed to be some big twist or anything like that, but I thought it was a really cool way to tell the stories, because with anthologies you often want, you know, cool bookends to the stories and stuff like that, and this one was pretty neat. So he is the shopkeep, and there's like a robbery that happens. That's kind of that wraparound story. Then the first actual story is titled, what is it here? I think I have it here. It is titled The Gatecrasher. And this one involves a man who comes in and buys an antique mirror. And he takes the mirror home and he does a seance in front of it. He's then visited by a ghost or a vision or some sort of force that tells him that he needs fed and he's going to need basically murders. So the man begins to kill people. Probably the most gruesome out of the 4 stories. It's not really a bloody horror film, but I would say this is probably the most gruesome. It was a pretty decent story. I think I would liken it to something like Telltale Heart in a little way. There's some stuff under the floorboards that kind of gave me that vibe. Of course, Edgar Allan Poe's story, but I mean, it's a completely different story. It just kind of reminded me of that a little bit, maybe inspired a little bit. So that story's decent. The second story, I think, is the best story, and that one is titled An Act of Kindness. And this one stars Donald Pleasence and his daughter, who actually plays his daughter in the film. There's a man who's like fed up with his life. He doesn't get along with his wife. He's just sort of, you know, living this mundane thing day to day and not really enjoying life. He's kind of frustrated, and he meets Donald Pleasence's character, who is a war veteran, and he sort of befriends him. He goes so far as to fake himself as being a decorated military man by buying or stealing a medal from the shop with Peter Cushing. And he basically starts to sort of develop these feelings towards Donald Pleasence's daughter. Kind of leave it off there. I think this one's the best one. It has a cool, nice little ending there, and Donald Pleasence is great in it. His daughter's cool, which I'm not familiar with her if she did much acting, but it was cool to see her in that. So yeah, that one's probably the best one of the anthology here. And then the third story is titled The Elemental, and this one is pretty cool as well. This businessman meets this clairvoyant on a train, and she tells him that he has an elemental attached to him in his shoulder, and an elemental basically like burrows inside you and kind of possesses you type thing. His wife begins his dog goes missing. His wife begins to be harassed, like she's being choked and stuff, so he calls up the clairvoyant, and she comes to deal with this elemental. I thought this one was pretty cool. I would have actually liked if we saw like maybe a physical incarnation of the elemental. I think that could have upped it a little bit. I kind of just wanted a little bit more out of this one. Overall, it was a pretty fun story. I would say it's my second favorite in the anthology. But yeah. So the fourth story is titled is it The Door? It is The Door, yeah. And this man buys this door from the shop, and it's basically this door that he puts on his pantry. But the woman says that she could feel what's on the other side, and it's not the pantry, his wife or his girlfriend. And he goes inside the door one night, and it's a room, and there's a man in there, and that's a problem. Kind of leave it off at that point. This one, probably my least favorite. I will say that the visuals in this one are really cool. A lot of blues, and the set design's nice, like tons of cobwebs everywhere and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of it for that one and the anthology. I think it's a good anthology. It's not groundbreaking. There's no story in here that like really sticks out. Like you look at other classic anthologies like Creepshow, and you have, well, Creepshow's kind of a bad example because like everybody loves different segments in that, but take Trilogy of Terror, for example. The Zuni Fetish doll is by far the best segment, and it's usually the one that everybody likes. Creepshow 2, it's The Raft, even though my favorite is Chief Woodenhead. So there's always sort of anthologies where there's one like really great story in classic anthology films. From Beyond the Grave doesn't really have a standout, like, super memorable story, although I do think that the Act of Kindness is the best one. It still doesn't stand out as, like, something amazing. It's just the best one. They're all good, and some of them are, you know, a little better than good. So it's not really an anthology that is going to, you know, impress a ton in terms of anthologies. But it's solid all the way around. There's not really a bad segment, which is always a good thing. Nothing amazing, but nothing bad either. And the wraparound's fun. So I give this one a 7 out of 10. Like I said, I have seen it before. It's been years though, so it was fun to revisit. The Blu-ray looks good. Definitely recommend picking this one up. Cool cover there. So with that said, I will see you guys with another one tomorrow.